Welcome back to the channel, y'all. I'm Jacob. Today we're going to be doing something that is kind of long overdue. We are going to be pruning our fruit trees. Now, I want to give you a disclaimer before we start this. I'm not an expert. You know, these are our first year fruit trees, so this is the first time of us pruning. So, not necessarily a how-to. There is some things that I have learned. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. Been watching Paul Gautschi on how he does it, and Good Simple Living, because they kind of get it from Paul Gautschi also. So kind of using their method. I guess it's like a Japanese method. But like I said, I'm not by any means a pruning master or anything. I do know a little bit, enough to where I feel comfortable in cutting these trees and doing good. Because if you have fruit trees, you have to prune them. If you want them to be good and healthy and have a lot of fruit, you have to prune them. So I'm not going to let that bother me. I'm going to cut it. And next year, if I don't do a good job, I'll do better next time, okay? But I know I have to do this regardless of experience. So we're going to get into this real quick, and you may learn something. I don't know. All right. So another thing, we're in the chicken area. You'll probably hear the rooster a lot, okay? So just don't mind him. But we got two roosters, and they like to go back and forth. I don't know why. Every single time we come out here to this area, that's what they like to do. But we'll get in these trees. A couple things. You may see this little cage we have over here. We took it off. We got them on all of our trees. The reason why we have these is, one, this is a concrete mesh wire. We put it on there to protect it from like trees or not trees, deer to come in, because deer come in just right in this area. And I've heard, especially in this area, they'll come by and they'll rub on them and they'll push them over. And so we wanted these just to kind of deter them. We put those in, and then we got 2 feet of chicken wire around it. And the reason why we did that is when we put the cage up, we started seeing that rabbits were eating at the bottom of the bark, and we didn't want that to kind of hurt the tree. So we stuck the wire around it. It also keeps the chickens out from scratching the wood chips that we have on there. And some people, they'll put like a kind of a plastic pipe when they first plant them. We didn't do that because we didn't really necessarily think about it, and so I didn't want to cut a pipe and stick it around. So this is kind of the thing that we used, and we're just going to be having these until these are big enough to where you think an animal's not going to really break them as much. So that's why we have these cages, and we took it off just because it's going to be easier to prune. So in our orchard, we have 9 apple trees and 1 peach tree, and from everything I've read, that you prune them all the same. Just make sure. So the other things you want to do is you want to have it to have airflow and enough sunlight, so you want it really open. There's, I guess, different methods, but I guess the one I'm going to be using is more of an inside. It's just like a bowl, like it's real open area. And the way Paul Gautschi kind of says, you prune from, what is it, I think the top up or the inside out. It's one of those. Like I said, this ain't a how-to, but the things I do know is you don't want branches crossing, okay, because that's going to prevent things growing properly. It's going to shade, so you don't want branches crossing at all. So we'll be taking those ones out. Any ones that are shooting like straight up, like you want growth going outwards. You don't want growth going like just straight up. So you want to be taking those ones off. And I mean, I think that's pretty much all I really kind of know. So that's what I'm going to be kind of sticking with. Any kind of lower branches, gonna be wanting to cut those off too. And that's pretty much about it. We're just gonna get into this and just start cutting some. All right, so I'm gonna be taking out this kind of middle piece right here. It goes up pretty long. And another thing too, I know for young trees, you don't want to take more than 1/3 of the tree. I guess it can kind of stress it out. So I'm gonna just come in here, and you get up, I guess there's a little bit of a line right there, and you want right up on that line, and then you just kind of cut it off like that. Usually they say, I think it's like a 45-degree angle when you make the cut. So I cut that one, and then you got these kind of branches off here. Like I said, you want them going out, so these ones are good. But I'm gonna just cut it a little bit. I just want to stimulate a little bit of growth. And one thing I saw someone do, they kind of said you look at the buds and you want to pick the ones that are kind of going outwards. You don't ever want branches going inwards. So anything that's going back into the tree, to the trunk, those ones you definitely want to cut. So these ones, I'm going to try to find just like a bud that is kind of pointing outwards. Probably this one right here. And then just cut that. And I'm just cutting a little bit for these just to stimulate some growth here. And probably go with this one. Cut that. Alright, so we did the other one. We didn't cut a whole lot off of that one. It's kind of smaller, didn't have a lot. But you always want to cut just something off of it just to stimulate. If it's just a little top piece, you want it to do that to stimulate it. So we're over to the next one. And another thing you're doing, if you're pruning more than one tree in your orchard, you got to disinfect your pruners. Just a little bit of, rubbing alcohol, just kind of, like here, just. And the reason why you want to do that is because it's disease. Say that tree over there had some disease and you went through and you didn't clean anything, now all your trees have diseases. So if you're pruning more than one, make sure you disinfect your clippers, your saw, whatever you're using, so you do not transfer any diseases. So these ones are good to go, and we'll get into this tree right here. So we're going to be cutting a couple of these, and as always, make sure that your pruners are sharp. Okay, if you got old pruners, just make sure they're good and sharp. As you always want good sharp tools when you're doing this. So with this tree right here, I've been looking at it, and I think I'm going to be taking out these two branches here because we're wanting to open up this middle, and these ones are going straight up. So the angle of them are going straight up. You want them to come out. So this one's kind of like that. It's coming out. You don't want them at this, I don't know what angle this is, but this is just going straight up, and I'm wanting to open up the middle. So I'm going to just come over here. So we're going to also take out, we decided kind of to take out this branch, and the reason why we're taking this one out is, again, it opens up the center a lot more, and as you can tell, this other branch right here is the exact same. So this one's going to be outlighting this one whenever it's coming up, and so it's kind of crossing, it's overlapping each other, and we don't want that. And so we're going to just take this one out and just a quick cut. And then we're also taking this one here out. It's growing down, and also these branches right here will probably over time shade it out, and so it just doesn't really need to be here. Cut that one. And I think that's probably all we're gonna do on this one. I think it looks pretty good, nice and open, and the branches are growing out the way I think they should. So we'll get to the next of them. All right, so we got this branch here, and we're kind of talking and everything, and it seems like a pretty good branch. It's kind of coming up, like just straight up, and I don't really like that, but we have this one branch coming out, and you know, there's a little tiny bud over here. So what I think I'm going to do is probably just cut this little piece off right here, and that should make it where it starts now to come out instead of come straight up. But you know, we'll see what it looks like, you know, next year. But that's kind of what I'm going to do right here. Just cut that part off. So with this apple tree, as you can see, it kind of is shooting off a pretty, like down here at the base, and you don't really want that, from what I've been reading. When it's down here at the base and it starts shooting up other ones, you want to cut those off. So this is the other one that you want to look out for. All right, so here's another tree I was kind of talking about, like previous, when you have this young growth on the bottom. They're shooting up. I don't know what causes that, why they come down here, but you don't want that. So you're going to want to cut all of these out. All right, so we are in the garden area right now. We have a few trees in here that we planted ourselves, but this one right here is a dwarf cherry tree. And another thing you want to think about whenever you're pruning trees is limbs that are dead or that are kind of diseased, if you can see them. So like this one, we kind of know, this one right here, it's probably hard to kind of see, but we knew from previous, like this one right here is kind of dead. You can just, it's a little bit more just shrunk, and it just doesn't look, you know, very good. So we're just going to take this one out right here. This one is a very small tree right now. I think this one's probably, I think we said this one was a dead one too. Cut that. And yeah, you can kind of see right here, if Alex, you come over here, there's no green at all from it, and kind of the same thing down there. There's not really a whole lot, so I'm pretty sure, you know, they were dead. Yeah. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. It feels really good, you know, pruning all those trees. It's something we just kind of almost been dreading ever since we got these trees, because, you know, you don't know, you don't want to mess something up, but you know you have to do it if you want to have successful trees. You can't neglect them. So we're really happy we got it done. It was probably a little bit late than we wanted to, but as always, you know, do what you have to do. And in future, we're going to be putting out a video on how we fertilize them, and probably going to put like a weed barrier over them, because we had some issues last year with some weeds, and you really want to get those weeds away from younger trees because they can really kind of drown them out. So future videos to come for more on the orchard. But guys, as always, if you're not subscribed to our channel, subscribe. You got any questions, leave them down in the comments. Hit that like button if you like this video, and there's a bell. Hit the bell for notifications, and it notifies you of new content that we put out. But hope y'all enjoyed this video. We really enjoyed, you know, cutting the trees. It just feels really good, just making your own trees and how you kind of want them to be and be more productive. But as always, guys, y'all take care and God bless.
This boy right here, he's the culprit. And his buddy, Alan over there. Are you the loudmouth? And here's his accomplice. If one ain't crowing, the other is.
I think they call it, what is it, the 3 Ds? It's dead, disease, and
Dying.